Influence is a very special word. And let's just say Helen Keller was a special kind of influence. This is when you have the power to have an effect on people or things. Usually a positive influence is what we talk about. Negative influence, not good. This is when somebody has a negative effect on you, not good. Okay. Next word, hand signals. Okay, hand signals is usually, I don't know how to explain hand signals. Okay, when you cannot communicate verbally and you have to use your hands to communicate with people. We can also call this sign language for the deaf. But okay, Helen Keller couldn't use hand signals. Miss Sullivan did a special system with her where she would touch her hand with things, with different objects, and Helen could feel these things, and then she would understand what this was. Amazing. I mean, she had to feel things. She had to feel people's faces, and then she would know who you were. That wouldn't work out too well these days with the coronavirus. But okay, she was definitely alive during the Spanish flu back in 1917, which was also devastating. So she did this and she still survived. So I'm going to say hand signals are definitely safe. Okay, next, blind. Blind people. Okay, blind is a very easy descriptive word. Blind means you cannot see. Simple. You do not have the ability of sight. This is blind. Deaf, mute. Really two words, but okay. Deaf, mute. Deaf, we don't have the ability to hear. Mute, we don't have the ability to speak. I mean, this almost makes me so sad to think of the challenges that Helen Keller had. She couldn't speak. Well, okay, towards the end of her life, she did begin to attempt to speak, but it was hard to understand this speech. But okay, deaf, mute, can't hear, can't speak, blind, can't see. This was Helen Keller, people. Okay, handicapped. Handicapped essentially means that you're not able to use part of your body or your mind because it has been damaged or does not work normally. And this can be natural. You could be born handicapped or have an accident. So let's just say we don't have the ability to do certain things or use our bodies in certain ways. This is handicapped. Okay, next. Miracle. Helen Keller. Miracle. And you know what? Miracle and extraordinary are on the same wavelength, actually. Miracle's a little bit more drastic, though. Okay, a miracle is an unusual and mysterious event that is thought to have been caused by a god because it does not follow the usual laws of nature. And I'm not even going to bring religion into this. I think Helen Keller was just so intelligent and she was almost in this shell of herself and could never fully express herself when she was a child. And she overcame the odds. This should be the phrase of the day, overcome the odds. And let me say this before I continue with these last few words. If Helen Keller can learn to communicate, then any of us can learn a new language, right? I really think that when you look at examples like Helen Keller, I think anything's possible, right? I know you guys agree with me. Learning a new language shouldn't be so difficult when you see people like Helen Keller and what they achieved. Yeah, just a miracle for Helen Keller but not so much a miracle for us to learn a new language. So keep practicing, people. You will become very, very fluent in English. Okay, next word, dedication. Dedication. And I think that this describes Anne Sullivan. Can you imagine the frustration that Anne Sullivan must have had trying and failing and trying and failing and then finally succeeding? I remember watching a couple of movies and short videos about Helen Keller, and you could just tell that Anne Sullivan was dedicated, because if she wasn't, she would have gave up shortly after starting with Helen Keller, because Helen was very difficult. She couldn't communicate and she would get frustrated, and she would, how can I say this? She would snap. She would become very upset. But okay, dedication is the willingness to give a lot of time and energy to something because it is important. This describes Anne Sullivan. She believed in Helen Keller when nobody else did. Helen's family was ready to give up. And they contacted Alexander Graham Bell, famous inventor in the United States, because he was an expert in communications, and asked him, plead with him what they should do. And he suggested that they hire Anne Sullivan to do this for them. And boy, oh boy, did she. She performed a miracle. Okay, on to the next word. Intelligence. Intelligence. I think most of my students know what intelligence means. And I also think that most of my students are very intelligent, if not all. And you know what? I'm just going to say that I didn't say that right. All of my students are very intelligent, and I'm not just saying that to win bonus points, because if you have the ability to learn and understand and make judgments or have opinions that are based on reason, this is intelligence. Everybody has intelligence. It's just a matter of what speed my students have of learning, of retaining information. Let's just say that. But this is intelligence, the ability to learn, understand, and make judgments or have opinions that are based on reason. This is intelligence. We're all intelligent beings. We're humans. We have brains that think. Okay, on to the next. Human spirit. Human spirit. This is an interesting vocab. I don't know if I'll find a definition for this one. Human spirit. Let's see. I doubt it. Yeah, of course not. Okay. I know what it means, but I want to be official here for you people. Let's see what the interweb says. Okay. Human spirit is a component of human philosophy, psychology, art, and knowledge. Okay, that's a very good definition. The spiritual or mental part of humanity, we'll say. While the term can be used with the same meaning as human soul, human spirit is sometimes used to refer to the interpersonal, universal, or higher component of human nature, in contrast to soul or psyche, which can refer to the ego or lower element, the human spirit. This is beautiful. We all have human spirit, but I think that Helen's was extraordinary. I had to use a vocabulary. Okay, people, that concludes our 10 vocabulary for this week. And every one of these pertains to Helen Keller and Anne Sullivan. God, just an extraordinary story. And, you know, I'm really not so sure if so many young people around the world are 100% familiar with Helen Keller. But when I was a child, I'm a little bit older now, but when I was a child, you could find all kinds of material affiliated with Helen Keller and Anne Sullivan. This was, I mean, obviously, this was an international story that moved people. Um, God, I still remember watching this when I was a child and having tears in my eyes because I felt so bad for Helen Keller. But I also remember my mother and father assuring me that I didn't have to feel sorry for Helen Keller because she became one of the most prominent minds in the world. So, um, cheers to Helen Keller and Anne Sullivan. I can't imagine the work they had to do together. And Anne Sullivan stayed with Helen Keller most of her life. They were inseparable, inseparable. Okay. I love coffee. Did I mention that in any of my past shows? I think I did. Um, okay, Celia saying every time, every moment when I see her teacher put Helen's hand on her mouth, I am tearing. Yeah. I mean, she had to, but can you imagine this? Helen Keller had the ability to put her hand on your lips and she could tell what you were saying. It was like Braille before Braille. No, that's not a good comparison. I don't know. She could just feel the movement of your mouth and know what you were saying. I mean, can you imagine this, people? Can you put your hand on somebody's mouth with your eyes closed and somehow plugging your ears and tell what they're saying from the mouth movement and vibration? I don't think so. I really don't think so. Think about Helen Keller as a child. She literally knew nothing. She knew nothing. There was a really intelligent brain in this little girl, but she really had no way to understand anything. And she did it. She did it. That is crazy. Okay. Back in these days, she was born in 1880, guys. So back in these days, normally when a child had this disability or this handicap, they would put them in some institution and they would live out their life in solitude and really never have a chance. So I can only imagine if Helen Keller's family didn't try so hard for her to find a way to develop her brain, what kind of life she would have led. And we would have missed out on such an extraordinary woman with so many things to say. Her voice was heard all around the world. Let's just say this. Unreal, unreal. Okay, I want to find a video so you guys can watch a little bit of footage about Helen Keller. Let's see. Give me 1 second. And actually, okay, what we're going to do is we'll watch a short clip, but let's do a coronavirus update really fast, and weather report and time report. We fell back 1 hour today. I'm not happy with this daytime savings. Ridiculous. There's no need for it. Most countries, because I communicate with people from all over the world every week, most countries don't do daytime savings anymore, or they never did. And they're smart. Okay, let's do a COVID report really fast because right now, coronavirus is definitely on the rise. This is not good. Let me go to my trusted website and give you the scoop, people. Okay. And just for reference, I and most of my students like to refer to worldometers.info. This is probably the most precise program for understanding where we are with the coronavirus. Okay, as of right now, there's 42,973,000 total cases. And now when I say total cases, this means total cases. Some of these people are recovered and some still have this. So not 43 million active cases, total cases since this started. There's been 1,155,000 deaths since it started. And there's been 31 million, almost 32 million people recovered so far. What I keep hearing is second wave, third wave. This is what's happening. Right now, where I live, we're starting a third wave right now. I believe the United States is starting a third wave. Most people are just starting a second wave. It just depends on the fluctuation within these countries. But okay, I saw something chilling yesterday with the United States, so I'm going to start with that. I believe they set a new record for daily cases. So let's check on that. Yes, there was almost 80,000 new cases in the United States yesterday. That is more than some countries' total number. So 79,449 new cases and 784 deaths yesterday. One day, people. I think that's definitely more than, we'll say, most of Indochina, Indonesia, Taiwan, Hong Kong combined, I think. Okay. And by the way, I'll share the link of this fabulous website with everybody towards the end. But okay, United States, 8,827,000 total cases. India is on the doorstep right now with 7,864,000 cases. So it looks like the United States will be passed. But this makes sense. There's almost 1.4 billion people in India, and there's only 331 million living within the United States. So, okay, enough. Let's go to Serbia so we can see what I'm dealing with. Really not so bad. 38,872 total cases. Now, there you have it right there. There was almost double the amount of new cases. Actually, there was double the amount of new cases in the United States compared to the full amount in Serbia. Insane. Let's go for Hong Kong, which I know is still a very low number. Right now, 5,290. Not so bad. 144 active cases within Hong Kong. Really not that bad. And I have to go to Taiwan because I have a lot of students from Taiwan. Okay, has Taiwan broke 600 yet? No, 550 new cases in Taiwan. I mean, total cases, I'm sorry. 550, that's it. Now, when I say this, I have to mention too that there's only been 100,000 total tests in Taiwan. And the population there is almost 24 million. So maybe if they did some more testing, they would have some more cases. But I can say this, my students from Taiwan, they almost feel like there's no coronavirus. They act normally in public. And I've had the ability to see live coverage of downtown Taipei, and there's thousands of people on the street and nobody has masks on so much. I mean, you still see some, but I think the general feeling is it's safe outside. Boy, I wish that was the case where I'm at and back in my home country. Okay, that is going to be our 34th edition of the coronavirus report. 33rd, I'm sorry. What I'm going to do now is do a quick weather report. Okay, bear with me. Okay, let's go to weather.com. That's the easiest and my favorite. Okay, here in Serbia. Well, first off, let's do Taipei. I have them ready. And of course, I'm using Fahrenheit because I'm still not 100% familiar with Celsius, centigrade. Hold on. I usually use my phone to do this, so this is confusing me. Here we go. Okay, Taipei right now, 24 degrees and fair. This is nice because my students from Taipei have been telling me that it has been raining and raining and raining nonstop. Ridiculous, actually. Okay, let's do Hong Kong. Okay, Hong Kong is currently 27 degrees and fair. It appears to me that this is the nice time of year for weather on this side of the world. 27 degrees. This is perfect. I mean, I realize it's in the afternoon now in Hong Kong, and that's probably the highest the temperature will be all day, but I could live in 27 every single day. And here's the big difference right here. Where I'm at right now, it is 14 degrees and it'll be around 17 or 18 for the high. I don't mind this either. This is okay, but I know the cold days are coming, so I'm not so happy. Okay, everybody, that is going to do it for our weather report. And what I want to do now is I want to introduce you to Helen Keller with a quick video so you can actually see a little bit of footage about the life and times of Helen Keller. Truly amazing. Yes, definitely an inspiring story. And we're going to check it out. We're going to look at a little bit of footage here. I want you to see this. Cheers to Helen.
I hope you've settled in comfortably, Miss Sullivan.
Here for a change. Tobacco prices up, Father. We should earn a nice profit this year for a change.
Used to be a man could make a good living running a farm.
Well, perhaps if you leave your pet newspaper and come show me my business, we can make some real money.
Not in front of Miss Sullivan.
Why not in front of Miss Sullivan?
Miss Annie, Helen is used to helping herself from our plates.
I'm afraid I'm not used to it.
No, of course not.
Oh!
Viney, please bring Miss Sullivan another plate.
There's nothing wrong with my plate, Captain, only that Helen's hands don't belong in it.
One plate is hardly worth spoiling our breakfast over.
You see, she's just going to keep trying until she gets away.
I must insist that you let the girl go. Thank you.
Oh!
Oh, look, now she's hurt herself.
No, she hasn't. I know a tantrum when I see one. And a badly spoiled child.
Miss Sullivan.
Please show some pity.
For this kind of behavior. Pity's the one thing she doesn't need. The whole house waits on her hand and foot.
Here.
You stay out of this.
Letting Helen have her own way, it's really such a small thing.
Small. It seems you've all decided it's easier to feel sorry for Helen than to teach her how to behave.
Well, I've not seen that you've taught her anything yet, Miss Sullivan.
Quite right, Captain. Well observed. I'll start right now if you leave the room.
Leave the room?
Yes, please, Captain. Right now, if you leave the room.
Miss Sullivan.
If you're not willing to stand up to one tantrum, I cannot teach her anything. Mrs. Keller, you asked if there was anything I needed.
Yes, but
I need to be alone with Helen. Right now.
Miss Sullivan?
Oh, Captain. James. Captain, may I speak with you outside?
Give us a moment, please.
This is absurd.
Arthur, I am sure that she is only trying to do what is best.
I will not have my house turned into a circus. Unless there's a change in attitude, Miss Sullivan is dismissed.
Arthur, and then what hope do we have for Helen?
No less than we had before, and then perhaps we can regain some quiet.
还在担心孩子的中文学习吗？悟空中文专为海外少儿定制在。
Flower. Leaf. Water. No, not apple. Water. Why is it so hard to understand? Horse. Horse eats apple. Soup. Oh, such a lady. She'd rather starve than eat without a spoon.
You have taught her so much in a week and a half.
It's not enough. Obedience is not enough. She knows so many words. If only she knew what they meant.
And how will she learn?
The way a bird learns to use its wings, it has to come.
But how, Miss Annie?
I need more time. E-G-G. Egg. The word is the thing. It has a name. Bird. The bird is coming out of its shell, Helen. You come out too.
1.3倍更有效對抗衰老因素。
Yes. 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 Water. Yes. Pump. Ground. Yes. Bush. Flower. Captain! Mrs. Keller, come quickly! She knows! Mrs. Keller! She knows! She knows! Mother. Yes. Yes. Captain. Papa. Teacher. Yes, teacher. Keys? She wants the keys. K-E-Y. Key. Teacher. Teacher.
Kate, darling.
I love Helen so much. So much.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Okay, that was definitely emotional. As you could see, this was such enduring and difficult situation for Anne Sullivan, but hard work pays off. You saw how Helen was before she was taught. She was destructive. She was spoiled. We'll say she was spoiled. I think that a lot of people, if they had a situation like this, would just let their children do whatever because they wouldn't know how to control them. But okay, one more video, people. That was amazing. That was good stuff. Or not. Okay. Give me 1 second here. Okay. My goodness, people, can you imagine trying to teach a child that cannot see and cannot hear and really couldn't talk either? She was mute. Oh my goodness. This was a miracle. This was definitely a miracle. As a father, I can't imagine having a child with these handicaps. Oof. This really moves me to watch these videos because I just can't fathom the thoughts of Anne Sullivan and Helen's mother and father and brother. All they ever knew was there was this hopeless little girl who would never be able to communicate, and she was very destructive. And then Anne Sullivan came into her life and completely made her a logical thinking human being who was very intelligent, very intelligent. And the world would have never known the intelligence of Helen Keller if it wasn't for Anne Sullivan. And as you saw at the end of the video, Anne stayed her teacher and friend for the rest of her life. So she was with Helen for a long, long time. If you haven't watched any movies or any videos about Helen Keller, I strongly urge you to watch, especially if you don't have much prior knowledge of Helen Keller. It's truly an inspiring story. So, okay, people, we are going to go ahead and take a break. And when we come back, we're going to have more footage about the actual Helen Keller and maybe even a little bit about hand signals and the way that Helen communicated. We're going to educate you on this a little bit. So I'll take a quick 15 and I'll see you guys soon. We are talking about the incredible life of Helen Keller. In the first part of our show, we showed a little video, a clip from the movie of the life of Helen Keller. And we were introduced to how Anne Sullivan had to teach Helen Keller. And that's what we're going into next on this edition of English with James. We're going to show how Helen Keller eventually learned to communicate with Anne Sullivan. These are called hand signals, everybody. And I'm going to share that with you right now. This is basically deaf sign. Okay, this is the deaf and blind alphabet. This is specifically for people that are both deaf and blind. As you can see, this is the entire alphabet in English. And what you have to do is you have to touch and move the fingers of the deaf and blind person to give them the letter, and then they understand. Can you imagine the work that Anne Sullivan had to do to start teaching sentences, paragraphs? I think about when Helen had to write her dissertation for her bachelor's degree. Oh my God, I'm sure that Anne Sullivan was there helping her with this, and she had to explain everything to Helen Keller. I'm sure eventually she started getting really fast. I'm sure that was the case, because I can't imagine trying to speak have entire conversations with Helen Keller using this deaf-blind alphabet. That had to be really intense. But okay, just like anything else in this world, the more you practice, the better you become. Just like English, right? So as you see, A, looks like you have to put all of your fingers in a fist clench and touch the thumb, the tip of the thumb. B, you touch all your fingertips to one side of the hand. I could go on and on, but this is definitely challenging. Wow, I can't imagine. I mean, just for Helen Keller to feel this when she first felt this and think, what does this mean? I mean, she was intelligent enough to grasp the concept without any knowledge of anything. I think all Helen Keller knew was eat, sleep. That's it. Amazing, truly amazing. I'll say Anne Sullivan was definitely a hero. There's no doubt about that. So for reference, deafsign.com. That's it, deafsign.com. Okay, people. We're going to move along. I mean, as a parent, as I mentioned prior, this would be a lot of work to raise your child, to teach them how to communicate. I mean, you almost have to hire somebody to do this for you. I suppose, I mean, as you saw in the movie clip, Helen's mother was using this blind, deaf language. She was doing it in her finger, or in her hand too, but I can't imagine this. In today's days, in this, in modern times, with the busy schedules that we have, working, taking care of other children, all the stress that we endure, it would be about 100 times more difficult than back in these times. I mean, this was such an innocent, slow time back in the late 1800s, early 1900s. Yeah, that would be a challenge. Okay, what I think we're going to do next is we're going to show a video of the actual Helen Keller. So let's get this rolling. Personally, I haven't seen much footage of the actual Helen Keller, mostly just movies and autobiographies, this sort of thing, pictures mostly. There wasn't so much video when Helen Keller was young, let's put it that way. So, but later in life, obviously, technology was pretty far advanced. So there's lots of videos we can watch. So as soon as my technical team has this ready, we'll get it rolling for you people.
On the lips,
God, that
she
movie
feels
clip was
the,
very
B.
emotional.
And
Very
the-
emotional. Imagine the
and
joy that you
with-
would experience when this child finally starts to understand everything. Whew. I can't imagine. I really can't imagine. We're so blessed and so fortunate to have children that don't have handicaps or disabilities. But you know what? I think the ones that do have handicaps and disabilities are truly special. Truly, truly special. I had an opportunity back in the United States to be around individuals with disabilities. And I'll tell you what, they're a joy. They're pure. They're so beautiful. Their souls are pure. So, okay, having said that, we have some footage of the actual Helen Keller. Let's check it out. I'm excited.
A part of their so-called act was later filmed. It is the only existing record of Annie Sullivan's voice.
When I saw Helen Keller first, she was 6 years and 8 months old. She had been blind and deaf and mute since her 19th month as the result of an illness. She had no way of communicating with those around her except a few imitative signs that she had made for herself. A push meant go and a pull meant come and so on. She had observed that we did not use the hands when we were talking to each other. And I let her see, by putting her hand on my face, how we talk with our mouths. She felt the vibration of the spoken word. Instantly, she spelled, "I want to talk with my mouth." That seemed impossible. But after experimenting for a time, we found that placing her hand in this position, the thumb resting on the throat, right at the larynx, the first finger on the lips, the second on the nose, we found that she could feel the vibration of spoken words. For instance, the throat, she feels the G, the hard G, the. And on the lips, she feels and the K sound. On the lips, she feels the B, with the second finger on the nose, the nasal sounds, the 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 first word she learned to articulate was the little word "it." With the hand in this position, I made the vowel "I." She felt it. "I." Then I made the T. She feels it with the finger on her lips, on my lips. Then I put the two letters together to form the word "it," and the first word was learned. After her 7th lesson, she was able to speak the sentence word by word, I am not dumb now.
Amazing. Truly amazing.
In this room sits a remarkable woman. She is Miss Helen Keller. She does not see the room or the book that she is reading. She sees nothing. She does not hear the rustling of the curtains behind her. She hears nothing. She is deaf and blind. But if you enter her room, she will know it. Your lightest footfall will tell her you are coming. It will even tell her who you are, if she knows you, as she knows her old friend, Polly Thompson. Polly has been with Helen Keller 40 years. For nearly half of these, she has been Helen's only companion, Helen's eyes and ears upon the world. She talks talks with Helen by a finger system in which each letter has a sign, like this. In reaching out beyond her dark and soundless night, Helen depends most on touch. Two other senses remain to her. There's taste and there is smell. Scent, the scent of objects and places and people, tells Helen much that we learn with eyes and ears. But her hand is her chief link with the outer world, with Polly, with Anne, the part-time helper, with everyone she encounters. With her hand, she reads Anne's lips. She answers with her voice. It is an unnatural voice, and it is her great sorrow. For all her years of effort, Helen has never learned to speak clearly. This isn't strange, for since she was a baby, she has not heard a word spoken, nor seen lips forming one. But let Helen, with Polly's help, tell you.
It is not blindness or deafness that brings me my darkest hours.
It is not blindness or deafness that bring me my darkest hours.
It is the attitude disappointment in not being able to speak normally.
It is the acute disappointment in not being able to speak normally.
Longingly, I think how much more good I might have done if I had only acquired natural speech.
Longingly I feel how much more good I could have done if I had acquired normal speech.
But within this sorrowful experience, I understand more fully.
But out of this sorrowful experience, I understand more fully
human strivings,
all human strivings,
thwarted ambition,
thwarted ambition,
and the infinite capacity of hope.
and the infinite capacity of hope.
Wow. Wow. So cool. She could almost fully talk. I mean, I could understand maybe 50% of what she said in that little speech. Amazing. Completely amazing. The fact that she could touch your face and hear you from the vibration. Oh my God. Such a I mean, really, we can't say it's not a miracle. She defied the odds. I mean, the odds would say that she should not have been able to communicate whatsoever. So, and I'm really, as a parent, once again, as a parent, this would have driven me to the best tears I've ever had in my life if I watched my daughter go from nothing to everything. I'm sure, as we saw in the first part of our show today, in the short clip, that when her parents first hired Anne Sullivan, I don't think they had expectations. I mean, they seemed like, Anne wasn't doing anything for their daughter at first. Not the truth. Not the truth. Wow. Anne Sullivan was extraordinary. There's that word. This is a choker, as we say in the United States, man. This will definitely make you tear up. There's no doubt about it. Just the dedication that Anne Sullivan showed. The human spirit. This is truly a story of the human spirit. There's no doubt about that. Okay, we have some facts about Helen Keller. Helen Keller never married or had children. This is sad. However, she almost married Peter Fagan. When Anne became ill and had to take some time off, Peter Fagan, a 29-year-old reporter, became Helen's secretary. During this time, the two grew close and made plans to marry. However, given societal expectations for a deaf and blind woman, At the time, Helen's family and extended family were against the match. Even so, the two planned to elope. But Peter never came. Helen said of the relationship, "His love was a bright sun that shone upon my helplessness and isolation." After the failed elopement, Helen never saw Peter again. That's terrible. That's so terrible. Okay, so there's the sad part about her adult life. It sounds like she had one opportunity and one true love, and her family was against this, and he left and never came back again. This is so sad. Damn it, Peter. It's the worst thing you can do is just leave, man. At least stay there and be a friend. It's pitiful. I don't like this Peter Fagin. Okay, we'll talk a little bit about Helen Keller's family and home life. Until 1882, Helen Keller was a happy, healthy child in the state of Alabama. Her blindness and deafness didn't arise from a birth defect. Instead, she developed a brain fever that took away her senses of hearing and sight when she was 19 months old. So sad. How she got around without sight or hearing. Okay, prior to meeting Miss Sullivan, Helen worked to feel her world. According to her autobiography, Story of My Life, she also enjoyed the smells. However, she easily became frustrated with her lack of communication, which would lead to tantrums, as we saw in the first movie clip. Not understanding rules of etiquette, Helen would eat from the plates of others and throw things to get her way. Early communication and companions for Helen. While many think Helen was not able to communicate prior to Anne, Helen did use a primitive communication technique. She used a simple sign language with her companion, Martha Washington, and other family members, which consisted of about 60 signs. In addition to Martha and her family, Helen also talks about her dog, Belle, prior to speaking. She enjoyed the feeling of Belle's excitement along with her calm. A little bit about her parents, Arthur and Kate. Helen was the first child to Arthur and Kate Keller. Her father, Arthur Keller, was not only a third cousin to Robert E. Lee, but he served in the Confederate Army. Additionally, he was a lawyer and editor of the North Alabamian. Before meeting Helen's mother, he was married to Sarah E. Rosser, but she passed away. He married Kate in 1877, a strong, loving man with an affinity for hunting and fishing. Arthur searched far and wide to help find Helen treatment during her younger years. Thank God for Anne Sullivan. Her siblings, Mildred, Simpson, Phillips, and James Keller. In addition to a younger sister, Mildred Keller, Helen also had two stepbrothers, Simpson and James. Both Simpson and James Keller were Arthur's children from his first marriage. James was a teen as Helen was growing up, and it is noted that he attempted to control her prior to Anne's arrival. It is also documented in Anne's letters in Helen's autobiography that he is the only one that tried to curb Helen's willfulness as a child. While Helen unintentionally terrorized her parents and siblings, James tried to stand his ground to get her to behave. Helen also had a younger brother, Phillips, whom Helen helped name. While Helen didn't mention her brothers much in her writings, she did discuss walking hand in hand with her sister and attempting to talk to her with primitive language. Once Helen learned to speak, Mildred became a close confidant, of course. Okay, we're going to learn a little bit about Anne Sullivan, the miracle worker. In 1886, Helen's mother contacted, as I said, Alexander Graham Bell. I still remember this from school, who was working on a hearing device for deaf. And he led them to the Perkins Institute for the Blind and Anne Sullivan. With a visual impairment, Anne was a star student at Perkins Institute before she came to the Keller household to teach Helen. She was successful in getting through to Helen. I can't talk today. And she taught her to communicate. Anne never left Helen's side until her death. She became her teacher and friend through Helen's training at the Perkins School, White Humason School, and even Helen's studies in Radcliffe College. That's what I figured. See, I wasn't really sure about that, but she had to be by her side, especially in college. Okay, becoming an adult. Given her physical challenges, Helen didn't have a typical adult family life. She lived in Wrentham with John A. Macy and Anne Sullivan after the two married in 1905. Macy, an editor of Keller's biography, was a great friend to her. Helen seemed happy in this new home, and John created a system for her to take walks. However, the marriage didn't last forever. While the two never divorced, John and Anne became estranged in about 1914, and they parted ways. Helen remained with Anne. Polly Thompson was one of her best friends. Another staple in Helen's adult life was her secretary, Polly Thompson, a housekeeper from Scotland who eventually became Keller's secretary. She worked with Anne and Helen. Some say Anne, Polly, and Helen were called the Three Musketeers. After Anne was no longer able to travel with Helen due to failing health, Polly became Helen's best-known companion. Polly and Helen remained companions until Polly's death in 1960. Oof. And a little bit about the advocacy of Helen Keller. Disease took away Helen Keller's sight and hearing, affecting her family life. However, with the help of some dedicated friends and family members, Helen was able to learn, love, and prosper until her death of natural causes on June 1st, 1968. She's a true role model to many for overcoming adversity, as I said, against all odds. Wow. Truly, truly amazing. Okay. I think we should find one more video. Maybe some more real footage. Let's see what we can do. I love watching these old videos. They're basic, but you know what? They get the message across. Black and white is great. Let's see what I can find. Okay. Okay, I see some rare Helen Keller film footage. Let's see what this is about. Okay. Let's do this. This is really cool stuff. Okay. Okay, I found some really rare footage of Helen Keller. Definitely before the time of the video that we just saw. I would say maybe 1930s, maybe. Maybe before. Maybe before. All right, enjoy this.
Helen Keller writes vivid newspaper accounts of suffragette activity for the United Press. Things are never easy for her. Anne Sullivan must read back to her every page she types. But publishers will buy Helen's writings, and she is the main support of the tiny literary household. She is unshaken when her campaign to prevent infant blindness caused by venereal disease evokes a furor. Her Frank magazine article outrages the false morality of the day. The subject is taboo, but she has broken taboos before, and she feels she must speak out. Mr. and Mrs. John Doe are shocked, but more important, health authorities are grateful. Symptoms of success begin to appear. A ladies' group called the Sunshine Society is formed. Its purpose, to break through the stigma of sin surrounding infant blindness, to rescue blind infants from underprivileged homes. Shielded from view in darkened cradles, these children were being denied the proper care which would afford them a chance to grow into whole personalities. Increasing numbers of reassured and probably relieved parents cooperate. Springtime, Washington, in the office of Harry Hopkins.
The Works Progress Administration has established a project of making talking book machines for the blind. 5,000 of them have been made. And these talking books are available to the blind people of America through the lending libraries established by the Library of Congress. They may borrow these books in the same way that you borrow yours. It is the most comfortable way of reading that I know of, and may well be envied by those of us who have sound sight. The person who suggested this project and is responsible for it is Miss Helen Keller, who is not only the outstanding sightless person in America, but one of the Republic's foremost citizens.
Talking books are compact, and they bring pleasure to thousands in America, while in another country, books take on a different meaning. A ranting and hostile Joseph Goebbels finds books dangerous. They give men ideas, open men's eyes. A great honor for Helen Keller. Her own writings breathe too much of freedom for the Nazis. They too are burned, consigned to the flames which soon engulf the entire world. While Helen's campaign for the blind is finally bearing fruit, one of the more colorful American minorities is about to give high honor to another successful campaigner. President Calvin Coolidge will never be allowed to forget that he once truly was Chief of State. Coolidge gives Helen Keller his personal check for the new foundation for the blind she is helping to form. And Mrs. Coolidge, a teacher of the deaf before her marriage, is anxious to lend her name to any effort that will assist deaf or blind persons. When she was only 12, Helen gave a tea party and raised $2,000 for the blind. Now she raises hundreds of thousands in a year. Her influence and friendships extend from the White House and the First Lady to the humblest tenement and the quiet blind. Famous or unknown, all are proud to know her. And by her side on every occasion, Anne Sullivan. It is not all work, to be sure. Helen has always been able to feel vibrations, and when the vibrations are from the violin of Jascha Heifetz, she feels at once sad, joyous, and lonely. Here she receives President Eisenhower's Committee to Employ the Handicapped Award, given by the blind Major General Melvin Moss in the presence of 2 blind Girl Scouts, an example of participation in life by sightless persons made possible by her work. Assisted now by Mrs. Evelyn Side, who succeeded Polly Thompson upon her death, she meets her 10th U.S. President. With all of them, she has campaigned hard to improve the lives of disabled persons everywhere. At Washington, D.C.'s Gallaudet College, the world's only institution of higher learning for the deaf, students are taught by sight how to pronounce words they cannot hear. As you watch these two, consider the difficulty of teaching a blind deaf person to speak.
Persistence. Persistence. Look at my tongue. It's pressed gently against my teeth. Persistence. Persistence spells success.
Weeks later comes the test.
Good morning, Miss Benjamin. Good morning, Carolyn. Nice beads. Thanks. We've been practicing. Yeah. Let's try your favorite sentence. Persistence Spares success.
What?
Persistence spares success.
Let's look at it in the mirror.
Success. Success.
Wow. Okay. So as you can see, she was very successful in raising awareness and raising very large amounts of cash to help with her society for the blind and deaf. Amazing. Amazing. Nobody ever would have thought that she would ever be able to even communicate, and she went on to be very successful. She even had her own machine, as you saw. It was a typewriter of sort, but I'm pretty sure it was a Braille typewriter. Unbelievable. It's just, I can't even fathom the thought that of just what she had to, like, how did her brain figure this out when she was a child? Sure, she wasn't blind and deaf until she was a year and a half old. But you don't know much when you're a year and a half. You're still a tiny infant. So just unreal, completely unreal. I want to find another video. This is interesting stuff. Let's see what I can do. Let's see. Oops. President Kennedy meets Helen Keller. That's pretty cool. It's only 30 seconds, though. Oh, yeah, let's do that. Helen Keller's morning walk. This is pretty cool. A normal day for Helen Keller going for a walk. Okay. It's just really interesting to see how these people lived. Essentially a normal life, except for the fact that she had to read hands and read lips. Read vibration. Everything else was normal. Yeah, let's see what it was like for Helen Keller to just go on her daily routine. This should be interesting. I love these old videos. This is so cool.
Every morning, Helen goes for a walk along a 1,000-foot handrail built by a loving friend to guide her. 1,000 feet where she is alone and free. The walk seldom varies, but for Helen it is always full of small, unexpected events. Helen is known from childhood what those with sight cannot realize, that one does not need eyes to see the world. The patch of herbs that was here last summer is gone. By 8 o'clock, Helen and Polly have made their beds. Polly has finished the household tasks, and their business of the day begins. Even at home, they carry the responsibilities and obligations of public figures. desk is never clear. The mail piles up while they are away, and every morning more comes in.
Wow. I mean, wow. I mean, really, this is the stuff that we hear about in life that really shines. This is such a shining example of how humans can overcome anything. And by the way, her friends were amazing, definitely amazing. To be able to spend so much time with her for all of her needs, and just so she had somebody to communicate with. Truly cool, deeply cool people. Golly, I mean, you had to devote yourself almost 100% to Helen Keller, and they did this. So obviously they loved her. I mean, really, and I couldn't say that better. When you feel negative and you feel like giving up, think about the odds that Helen Keller had to overcome, the obstacles that she had to endure. This goes right back into what I said earlier. If Helen Keller can learn to read and write and speak, you can learn English. It seems like such a small accomplishment compared to the trials and tribulations that Helen Keller had to endure. So, and not just learning English, that's just one small example. You can do anything in this world. We are all fully capable to make our dreams come true. Nothing is impossible. Nothing. Right when you think everything's impossible, you see a story like this, and this should change your mind. Definitely. Power drink time. Cheers. Wow. I have to give a huge prop to Helen Keller. Amazing. I know she's no longer with us, but I don't know. She was definitely a pioneer. Definitely a pioneer and a true inspiration to not every just woman, every human being on this planet. I don't know if we've seen anything like this in a long time. But okay, technology has advanced. So I think it's much easier for communication for people that have different handicaps that are similar to Helen Keller's. I mean, I'm even hearing stories these days where they're giving deaf people their ears back. They have the ability to hear again. And blind children the ability to see again. So, and just think about the future of technology. If somebody's deaf, they'll probably give them new ears. If somebody's blind, new eyes. It's definitely going to happen. Okay, people, I think this was a very inspirational story. I know I had a lot of fun learning about Helen Keller. I do know some things from when I was young, but this was definitely informative. And I had a really great time telling these stories and explaining certain vocabulary about Helen Keller and just learning. Like I said, I learn on these shows too. So having said this, this was great. We'll see you next Sunday for the 34th edition of Englishing with Jings. And everybody enjoy the rest of your weekend. And we'll see you next week. Bye.